Okay, Prabhu.
Oh yeah, oh no problem. I'm just trying to serve the devotees, that's all. That's my perfection. Okay, please repeat. Now we've already done the word for word. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6, text 36. That's Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, chapter 6, text 36. We've already done word for word. Let's try this again. Please repeat. Natos. Let's just, I'm going to do the whole line now.
I think the word pronounced as asmi.
Asmi?
Yeah, now the apostrophe is on the top, it's like an A.
He's going to do the whole line now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Natosmi aham tat charanam samiyusam.
Natosmi aham tat charanam samiyusam.
Bhavachidam swastyayanam sumangalam. Yoyatma maya vibhava smarparayad. Yata nabhavaha swantam atapare kutaha.
Yata nabha swatam atapare kutaha. And there's a dot under the H, and that's either the second or the
No, this
fourth.
is every line, because every line is complete. There's a 4-line verse.
So in the fourth line, it's at the end, so we pronounce
In
the.
Bhagavad Gita, they're all 2-line verses, actually.
Got it.
Okay, anybody want to try that?
Natosmi aham tat charanam samiyusam.
Yeah, it's not toes.
Avachidram swasti ayanam sumangalam.
Parvachidam swasyayanam sumangalam.
Yatma maya vibhravayam smart paryagar. Yatanava swatam atapane kutam.
Yata nabha swatam atapare kutaha. Natosmi aham tat charanam samiyusam. Bhavachidam swatyayam.
Bhavachidam swasyayanam sumangalam.
Bhavachidam swasyayanam sumangalam.
Yogyatma maya vibhavam smaparyagat. Yatanava swantam atapare kutaha.
Please repeat. Nataha. Let me offer my obeisances.
Let me offer my obeisances.
Ask me. M. A-M. I. Ta. The Lord's. Charanam. Feet. Samiyusam. Of the surrendered soul. Bhavachidam. That which stops repetition of birth and death.
That which stops repetition of birth and death. Swastiyanam.
Perception of all happiness.
Sumangalam.
All auspicious. That's a beautiful term, huh? Sumangalam. That'd be a nice name to have. Sumangalam Das.
Yeah.
All auspicious. One who. He. Exactly. Atmanmaya. Personal energies. Vibhavam. Potency. Sama. Certainly. Hayagat. Cannot estimate. Yata. As much as. Nabaha. The sky. Swatam. Its own limit. Ata. Therefore. Apare. Others. Kutaha. How. Please repeat. Translation. Therefore, it is best for me to surrender unto his feet. Which alone can deliver one from the miseries. Of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious. And allows one to perceive all happiness. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So what can others do? When the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits. I read that again. Translation. Therefore, it is best for me to surrender unto his feet, which alone can deliver one from the miseries of repeated birth and death. Such surrender is all auspicious and allows one to perceive all happiness. Even the sky cannot estimate the limits of its own expansion. So what can others do when the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Purport by His Divine Grace A. C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Lord Brahma, the greatest of all learned living beings, the greatest sacrificer, the greatest observer of the austere life, and the greatest self-realized mystic, advises us as the supreme spiritual master of all living beings that one should simply surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord in order to achieve all success, even up to the limit of being liberated from the miseries of material life and being endowed with all auspicious spiritual existence. Lord Brahma is known as Pita Maha, or the Father's Father. A young man consults his experienced father about discharging his duties, so the father is naturally a good advisor. But Lord Brahma is the father of all fathers. He is the father of Manu, who is the father of mankind all over the universal planets. Therefore, the men of this insignificant planet should kindly accept the instruction of Brahmaji and would do well to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord rather than try to estimate the length and breadth of the Lord's potencies. His potencies are immeasurable, as confirmed in the Vedas. Parasha Shaktir Vividhaya Vishriyate Sabhaviki Yana Bala Kriyacha Swaisvara Upanishad 6:8. He is the greatest of all, and all others, even the greatest of all living beings. Namely, Brahmaji admits that the best thing for us is to surrender unto him. Therefore, only those persons with a poor fund of knowledge claim that they themselves are lords of all that they survey. And what can they survey? They cannot survey even the length and breadth of a small sky in one small universe. The so-called material scientist says that he would need to live 40,000 years to reach the highest planet of the universe, being carried by a Sputnik. This is also utopian because no one can be expected to live 40,000 years. Besides, when the space pilot returned from his travel, none of his friends would be present to receive him back as the greatest astronaut, as has become fashionable for modern bewildered scientific men. One scientific man who had no belief in God was very much enthusiastic, making plans for his material existence, and therefore opened a hospital to save the living. But after opening the hospital, he himself died within 6 months. So one should not spoil his human life, which is obtained after many, many changes of bodies in 8,400,000 species of life, simply for the concocted material happiness of life through increased artificial needs in the name of advancement of economic development and scientific knowledge. Rather, one should simply surrender unto the feet of the Lord to make a solution to all miseries of life. That is the instruction of Lord Krishna directly in the Bhagavad Gita. And that is the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam by Brahmaji, the Supreme Father of all living beings. Anyone denying this surrendering process as recommended both in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, and for that matter in all authorized scriptures, will be forced to surrender unto the laws of material nature. The living entity, by his constitutional position, is not independent. He must surrender either unto the Lord or unto material nature. Material nature is also not independent of the Lord, since the Lord himself has claimed material nature as Mama Maya, or quote, my energy. Bhagavad Gita 7:14. And as Me Bina Prakritir Astara, or quote, my separated energy in 8 divisions, Bhagavad Gita 7:4. Therefore, material nature is also controlled by the Lord, as he has claimed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Ayadakshena Prakriti Srite Sacharacharam. Quote, under my direction only is material nature working, and thus all living things moving, end quote. And the living entities, being superior energy to matter, have choice and discrimination, either to surrender unto the Lord or to surrender unto material nature. By surrendering unto the Lord, one is happy and liberated, but by surrendering unto material nature, the living entity suffers. So the end of all suffering means surrendering unto the Lord, because the surrendering process itself is Bhava Chetalam, the quote, parentheses, liberation from all material miseries. Satyayanam, perception of all happiness, and Sumangalam, the source of everything auspicious. Therefore, liberty, happiness, and all good fortune can be attained only by surrendering unto the Lord, because He is full liberty, full happiness, and full auspiciousness. Such liberation and happiness are also unlimited, and they have been compared to the sky, although such liberation and happiness are infinitely greater than the sky. In our present position, we can simply understand that the magnitude of greatness when it is compared to the sky. We fail to measure the sky, but the happiness and liberty obtained in association with the Lord are far greater than the sky. That spiritual happiness is so great that it cannot be measured, even by the Lord Himself, not to speak of others. It is said in the Scriptures, Brahma Sakyam Tvav Anantam. Spiritual happiness is unlimited. Here it is said that even the Lord cannot measure such happiness. This does not mean that the Lord cannot measure it and is therefore imperfect in that sense. The actual position is that the Lord can measure it. But the happiness in the Lord is also identical with the Lord on account of absolute knowledge. So the happiness derived from the Lord may be measured by the Lord, but the happiness increases again and again, and the Lord measures it again. And then again, the happiness increases more and more, and the Lord measures it more and more. And as such, there is eternally a competition between increment and measurement. So much so that the competition is never stopped, but goes on unlimitedly ad infinitum. Spiritual happiness is Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam, or the ocean of happiness which increases. There's another nice name, Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam. Das. That'd be an awful long name though. That's so beautiful. The material ocean is stagnant, but the spiritual ocean is dynamic. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, 4th chapter, Kaviraj Goswami has very nicely described this dynamic increment of the ocean of spiritual happiness in the transcendental person of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of Lord Krishna. So that's an example. This is very much an example of, sometimes Prabhupada will say something, and then he'll say something else that, is he contradicting himself, or no? He's just letting us in on the finer, this finer science, How could it be one thing at the same time you seem to be counter? Like for instance, it is said that the unlimited cannot comprehend the unlimitedness of His unlimitedness. Prabhupada said in a lecture I heard the other day. So the unlimited cannot comprehend the unlimitedness of the unlimitedness, of the Lord, But of course, just like Prabhupada's saying right here in the verse, it's saying the same thing, His pleasure, His happiness is unlimited. Here it is said that even the Lord cannot measure such happiness. This does not mean that the Lord cannot measure it, and is therefore imperfect in that sense. This is achintya, meaning inconceivable. Lord Chaitanya, He gave us a little hint. Achintya, Beta, Tattva, simultaneously one and yet different. Yes, everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna. Everything is Krishna. Everything is one. Everything is Krishna. And yet, simultaneously, we are all individuals eternally. So that seems inconceivable. So the key word at the beginning, what Chaitanya says, achintya, inconceivably. He warns us, inconceivably, simultaneously one and yet different. So for our minds, it's inconceivable. So it is very beautiful, especially if one knows about the Sanskrit language and many, many levels of meaning. As long as we are not puffed up, we don't assume that we know everything ahead of time, and as we're very humble, then we can get the blessings of our Guru did, then we can get blessings of understanding through His mercy. by the mercy of the Spirit, by mercy of Krishna, one gets a spiritual master, and by the grace of the spiritual master, one gets the blessings of Krishna. Simultaneously, it works like that. So spiritual happiness is lasting, Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam, or the ocean of happiness which increases. You cannot put a limitation on Krishna. You cannot put a limitation on his expansions, any of his energies. Krishna is inconceivable to us, And it's described that, knowledge of Krishna is ever expanding, trying to keep up with his ever expanding self, But even Krishna cannot fully understand himself. Now that sounds weird, but at the same time, Prabhupada explains, but he's God, so he can understand. But we're given an example of how we can understand. He's so inconceivable and ever expanding, it's almost as if the Lord is trying to keep up with himself, ever expanding. But he's God, so he knows everything. He knows past, present, future, And we're so fortunate that we're allowed to partake of this knowledge. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15. Savasya chaham hidisham vishto matas mityagyanam apolanam cha vedes cha saviram evavedyo vedanta krid vedavid eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas am I to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Krishna is everything. He is I'm seated in everyone's heart. And from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas am I to be known. Indeed, I'm the compiler of the Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. It's just like he's provider of food stuff, but he's also the digester of the food stuff, And we think that we're controlling this body, but there's demigods that control different parts of the body, Eyes blinking, nails growing, fire digestion, So, I do want to read one thing here. Speaking of Krishna's energies, this is from that book I love reading from Gita Mahatmya of the Padma Purana, Lord Shiva's glorification of the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. Parvati said, the glories of chapter 1, Parvati said, my dear husband, you know all the transcendental truths, and by your mercy, I have heard the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. O Lord, now I long to hear from you the glories of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by Lord Krishna, and by hearing which one's devotion to Lord Krishna increases. Lord Krishna says that he is the Bhagavad Gita. He is the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Shiva replied, that person whose body is the color of a dark rain cloud, whose carrier is the king of birds, Garuda, and who is lying on Anantasesh, the thousand-headed serpent. That Lord Vishnu, whose glories have no limit, I am always worshipping. My dear Parvati, once, after Lord Vishnu had killed the demon Mura, he was resting peacefully on Anantasesh, when the bestower of all good fortune of the universe, Sri Lakshmi, respectfully inquired from him. She said, Bhagavan, you are the controller and maintainer of the whole universe, but yet you are sleeping unhappily on the ocean of milk. What is the reason? Lord Vishnu said, my dear Lakshmi, I am not sleeping, but I am watching how wonderfully my energy is working. It is by this wonderful energy of mine that I am controlling all things, and yet I remain separate. And it is by remembering these divine activities of mine that the great devotees and yogis manage to free themselves from the wheel of birth and death, and attain the transcendental nature of mind, which is eternal and free from all qualities. Lakshmi said, O controller of all things, you are the goal of the meditation of great yogis. Nothing can go on without you, and yet you are separate. You are the cause of creation, maintenance, and destruction of all the material universes. Kindly inform me about the workings of your wonderful energies, which are so attractive that even you are lying here meditating upon them. Lord Vishnu said, My dear Lakshmi, the workings of my multifold energies and how to become free from the bonds of birth and death and attain my eternal nature can only be understood by one of pure intelligence who has an inclination to render service unto me. This transcendental knowledge is fully explained in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Lakshmi said, My dear Lord, if you yourself are amazed by the workings of your energies and are ever trying to fathom their limit, then how is it possible that the Bhagavad Gita can describe those unlimited energies of yours, how to cross over them, and how to attain the transcendental nature? Lord Vishnu said, I myself have manifested in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. Please understand that the first 5 chapters are my 5 heads. The next 10 chapters are my 10 arms. And the 16th chapter is my stomach. The last 2 chapters are my lotus feet. In this way, you should understand the transcendental deity of the Bhagavad Gita. This Bhagavad Gita is the destroyer of all sins, and an intelligent person who daily recites 1 chapter, or even 1 shloka, 1/2 shloka, or at least 1/4 shloka, it's just basically 1 line, will attain the same position as Shushharma had attained. Lakshmi asked, Who is Shushharma? What class did he belong to? And what destination did he attain? Lord Vishnu said, My dear Lakshmi, Shushharma was a very wicked and a most sinful man. Although he was born in a Brahmin family, his family had no Vedic knowledge, and he took pleasure only from hurting others. He never engaged in the chanting of my names, in giving charity, or receiving guests. In fact, he never performed any pious activities. For his livelihood, he collected leaves and sold them in the bazaar. He especially enjoyed drinking wine and eating flesh. In this way, he passed his life. One day, that foolish Shushharma went to the garden of a sage to collect leaves, when a snake came and bit him, and he died. After his death, he was cast into many hells, where he suffered for a long time. Thus he attained the body of a bull. The bull was purchased by a crippled man who engaged him in his service. For about 7 or 8 years he was carrying extremely heavy loads. One day the crippled man piled a very heavy load into the back of his bull. He was forcing the bull along quickly, but suddenly the bull fell over and became unconscious. Many persons gathered there to see what was happening. Feeling sorry for the bull, a pious man bestowed upon the bull the results of some of his pious activities. Seeing that other persons standing there started remembering their pious activities and offered the results of some of those activities to the bull. In the crowd there was also a prostitute who did not know if she had ever performed any pious activities, but seeing everyone else offering their pious credits to the bull, she also offered the results of any pious activities she might have performed. After that, the bull died and was taken to the abode of Yamaraj, the god of death. Their Yamaraj informed them, "You are now free from the reactions of all your previous sinful deeds, due to the pious credits given to you by the prostitute." End quote. Then he took birth in a very high Brahmana family. In that birth, he was able to remember his past lives. After many days, he decided to search out the prostitute who had been the cause of freeing him from his hellish situation. After he found and introduced himself to the prostitute, he inquired from her, quote, "What were the pious activities performed by you, the fruits of which freed me from my hellish situation?" The prostitute replied, "My dear sir, in that cage is a parrot, which recites something every day. Hearing that recitation, my heart has become completely pure. The results of hearing that recitation I have given to you." End quote. Thereafter, they both inquired from the parrot about the recitation. The parrot, remembering his previous life, started to narrate his history. He said, quote, "Previously, I had been a learned Brahmana, but due to my pride, I used to insult other learned persons. I was also extremely jealous. After I died, I was cast into many hells, and after a long time of suffering, I achieved this body of a parrot. Due to my past sinful activities, my mother and father died while I was a baby. One day, while I was lying on the hot sands with no protection, rishis saw me and took me to their ashram and put me in a cage. At that place, the children of the rishis were learning the recitation of the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Hearing them repeat the shlokas, I also started repeating those shlokas along with them. Shortly after, a thief stole me from there and sold me to this pious lady." Lord Vishnu continued, "By reciting the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the parrot became completely pure. And by hearing the recitation, the prostitute also became completely pure. And by receiving some of the pious results of hearing the recitation, Shushama also became completely pure. After discussing for some time the glories of the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Shushama returned to his home, and the three of them individually engaged in reciting the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and quickly attained the supreme destination, Vaikuntha. Anyone who recites, hears, or studies the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita will very easily cross over the ocean of material miseries and attain the service of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Jai! Glory to the Bhagavad Gita.
Jai.
Ki Jai. Anybody have any questions or comments? Wow, it's already 8:30.
I would like to know where you read that from. What was that from?
Yeah, this book is just fascinating.
Where is it from?
It's, the Gita Mahatmya.
Oh yeah, we had that.
There was Vishnu and Lakshmi. I thought Gita Mahatmya was Shiva and Parvati.
Yeah, I know. It starts out, they're talking, and then...
And then they bring in this other...
What's the whole?
Yeah, it's a little confusing, I know.
What's the whole title of that one?
Yeah, Gita Mahatmya of the Parma Purana.
Yeah.
Oh, I have another question about that. Is that the 7 verses of the Gita Mahatmya in the end of the Bhagavad Gita introduction? Are they from the same book, or is it the same name, something else? Do you know?
I don't know what it is.
What page was that you read from, Prabhu?
Oh, at the very first,
Oh,
it works through.
First chapter?
And there's only 2 or 3 pages per, like right now, I'd like to read another one, The Glories of Chapter 8, but it's only 2 pages. And this will blow you away. Everything in here blows me away. I'm telling you, it's amazing. Any other questions, Mataji? Anybody else have any questions? This is just 2 pages, but I think you're going to like this. The Glories of Chapter 8. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Parvati, now listen, please listen to the glories of the 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. After listening to this, you will feel great joy. In the south, in the town of Amar Kapoor lived a Brahmana called Baba Sharma, who had married a prostitute. He enjoyed eating meat, drinking wine, stealing, going with others' wives, and hunting. One day, that sinful Baba Sharma was invited to a party where he drank so much alcohol that it started to come out of his mouth. After the party, he became very sick and suffered from chronic dysentery. And after many days of suffering, he died and attained the body of a date palm tree.
A tree.
Yeah, date palm tree.
Okay.
One day, 2 Brahmana Rakshasa ghosts came and took shelter under that tree. Their previous life story was as follows. So there's a few different entities here. There was a Brahmana named Kushiba who was learned in the Vedas and had studied all branches of knowledge. His wife's name was Kumati, and she was evil-minded. Although that Brahmana was learned, he was also greedy. Along with his wife, he used to collect lots of charity every day, but he would never give charity to any other Brahmana. When the time came to die, they attained the forms of Brahmana Rakshasas. As Brahmana Rakshasas, they continuously wandered here and there over the earth, suffering from hunger and thirst. One day they rested under that date palm tree. At that time, the wife asked her husband, "How can we get free from this curse of being Brahmana Rakshasas?" He replied, quote, "By knowledge of Brahman, by knowledge of the self, by knowledge of fruit of activities. Without such knowledge, it is not possible to get free from our sinful reactions." Upon hearing this, the wife asked, "Kim ta Brahma, kim adhyatmam, kim karma purusottama?" "Oh my Lord, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruit of activities?" Completely by accident, the wife happened to chant half of the first shloka of the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. At that time, and here's that verse. Arjuna vacha kinta brahma kin yatkam kin karma purusottama ayibhutam cha kin praktam ayidaivam kin uchate. And translation is, Arjuna inquired, "O my Lord, O Supreme Person, what is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruit of activity?" That's all she said. Right there, just completed by accident. What is this material manifestation, and what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. So completely by accident, the wife happened to chant half of the first shloka of the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. At that time, having heard this half shloka, Baba Sharma broke free from the form of a tree, and again attained the body of a Brahmana, completely free from all sin. Suddenly from the sky came a flower airplane, which took the husband and wife back to Godhead, Vaikuntha. Afterwards, the Brahmana, Baba Sharma, with great respect, wrote down that half shloka, Kinta Brahma Kin Adhyatmam Kin Karma Purusottama. With the intention of worshipping Lord Krishna, he went to Kashishpuri and started performing great austerities while continually chanting that half shloka. Meanwhile, in Vaikuntha, Lakshmi, seeing Lord Vishnu, had risen suddenly from taking rest, inquired with folded hands, quote, "Why have you risen so suddenly from your sleep?" End quote. Lord Vishnu said, "My dear Lakshmi, in Kashishpuri on the bank of the river Ganges, my devotee is performing great austerities, continually chanting half a shloka of the 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. For a long time, I have been thinking how to award his devotion." End quote. Parvati asked Lord Shiva, when Lord Vishnu was so pleased with his devotee, what benediction did he bestow upon him? Lord Shiva said, "Baba Sharma went to Vaikuntha to engage in the eternal service of the Lotus Feet of Lord Vishnu. Not only that, but all his ancestors also attained the Lotus Feet of Lord Vishnu. My dear Parvati, I have described to you just a little of the glories of the 8th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Just by accident, she chanted half a verse. Wow, what power. It's amazing. Anybody else want to make a comment or questions or anything? I can't begin to comprehend this great science. It's just inconceivable to me. Agoish to simple devotees, Agoish to the entire Parampara, Shishi Garnitai, Shishi Radha Kanta, Agoish to the Prabhu Ki Jai.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai, thank you all.